This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. What a hilarious time to be watching the Yankees during spring training. The second week of games already starting to feel repetitive. Position battles, there aren't many of them. They're mostly decided. We've got favorites. Everybody's got favorites. The team on the field is actually looking pretty good. They're showing a lot of good things. Advancements from players who have been imported, like seeing some exciting stuff out of Cody Bellinger, seeing some exciting stuff out of Paul Goldschmidt, really patient at bats, doing a lot of different things with the baseball, going with it, shortening his swing, etc. Pretty much everything you'd want to see. Aaron Judge, 2-run single in his first game, except for then they're just inundated every day by a different injury. And they're built to withstand these to a certain extent, and you can't have been surprised by a Giancarlo Stanton injury. But at the same time, it's really hard to square seeing some positive steps and adjustments and forward momentum from the players actually on the field with then learning every 48 minutes that somebody else is down and it's okay because we have depth, but eventually we're not going to. So, hey, this is Yankees baseball. This is pretty much what we've been dealing with for the better part of a decade, if not longer. But the latest, Giancarlo Stanton to the IL to begin the year, not a surprise to anyone. The only question is how long he will be out. Kind of feels like a really long time because I'm not sure how progress will be made. Back at camp this week, it would seem. DJ LeMahieu injured after 2 at-bats. That seems fake. We'll talk about it like it's real, but how is that real? That doesn't seem possible, but I guess that's real. And Luis Gil waiting for the MRI results. We have been for several days, to the point where I actually suspect we'll get something today. Fair to assume serious until told otherwise. Even if it's not serious, gonna knock him out at the start of the year. That is one area where the Yankees actually don't have a problem per se. They could have gone 7 deep in the rotation to start the year. Now it's down to 6. 6 is still more than 5. That's not going to be an awful concern unless Gil is down for the year, which he might be. He's always hurt. Kind of makes me retroactively upset about the Kyle Tucker trade. But we'll talk about all of this and all we know. Joining me again, as once more, the Yankees play some pretty inspiring baseball on the field, make you feel good about their chances of competing in the AL East and the American League, and maybe even all of baseball this season. But still, you just can't help but feeling like you're running on a treadmill watching additional injuries pass you. You're playing a video game where you think you're dodging things and then another injury's in your path, and we can get over that, but actually there's another one. It just never stops, and it's really hard to do content about it. We could have pre-scheduled this content about injuries.
Yeah. What video game?
Yeah. I don't know what video game I'm even describing. A video game where you find stuff in the road? I guess that's hard.
I was thinking Gears of War, when just the dead people just start coming at you and you're trying to shoot them with a shotgun as many times as you can and you just don't have enough bullets. But yeah, did you know? I didn't know this. This is the first time in Giancarlo Stanton's career he's missing opening day. I was taken aback by that.
He made his debut in the middle of a season, so 2010 summer, and then ever since then he's been healthy for opening day every year. And
Crazy.
the discussion of Stanton is just going to be this gloomy cloud of this sucks. First of all, welcome to the show, 2:00 Eastern every Monday, Thursday, and
welcome in
platforms. We see you on the podcast platforms, by the way. Numbers going up. Seems like you guys like Yankees content. We're one of those podcasts that actually likes the Yankees, so it's good to see everybody. The Stanton stuff, look, we have to start there just because it's the headline news from the weekend, but not surprising at all. I don't think the approval rating is unanimous at this point, because you're always going to have Yankee fans frustrated with, swing and miss. There are people who are never going to buy in on that, and that's their prerogative. If that's how they want to watch baseball, they can. Obviously, it's frustrating to watch a clutch strikeout, so I get it. If that's what you take away from the game, you can be bummed by that. He is not going to make a ton of contact, and sometimes the swings are going to look ugly in the other batter's box. It is what it is. It's the price you pay for someone who basically carried them to the World Series last year and did so with tendinitis in both elbows, as we now know. He was dealing with for a good portion of last season, including his heroic October run, and then into this year. If you want to get mad at anyone for Stanton, get mad at the New York Yankees organization. They decided to allocate their funds on absorbing his contract and then refused to entertain signing Bryce Harper, even though one of those players was a DH, one of them was an outfielder, and both could have fit onto the New York Yankees payroll comfortably. The Yankees have since spent a ton of money on a lot of other people. At the time, I guess they thought they were extending Gary Sanchez, and they thought they were extending Gleyber Torres, and they weren't doing any of those things. So,
yeah,
Yankees miscalculation. I don't blame Giancarlo Stanton for the Yankees using his money as a roadblock. This would be a multi-time World Series champion if they'd brought in Bryce Harper the year after they got Stanton. And Stanton showed you he should have won over every doubter at the end of last season. Again, Juan Soto, we love him. That at-bat, technically, that literally sent the Yankees to the World Series before they got the final 3 outs of the bottom half. I mean, yes, we all saw it. That happened. But they're nowhere close to where they ended up last season without Stanton. In October, it was getting to the point of parity, how much work he did, how often he came through, how far the baseballs went when he launched them. If that didn't win you over, then you're probably not the core audience for this discussion or podcast. But frustrating to see him out, frustrating to not know how long it'll be. And again, frustrating that the Yankees knew he was dealing with this problem last year and still entered spring a bat short, assuming he was healthy when they knew he wasn't. They made an incorrect assumption about his health based on data that they had antithesis to in front of, like they had data that said he is not healthy. And they were still like, well, if we could just get Stanton healthy. And then a number cruncher was like, no, but he's not. Remember, he's hurt. And they were like, yeah, but imagine if he was healthy. And the number cruncher was like, fuck this. I'm not talking to these people anymore.
Well, they did this when they imported him with the trade, right? Like, we love the trade. We had a great time. I remember not reporting it. We obviously heard Jim Leyritz broke that news, and we were all over it. We were so excited when it was happening. But the warning signs were there before he arrived. 2012, 123 games played. 2013, 116 games played. 2015, 74 games played. 2016, 119 games played. He had knee issues. He had other ailments that were affecting him. And the Yankees said, great, we're going to bring him in, and that we're going to be hopeful that he is able to last. And then what happens? He has a tremendous debut 2018 season with the Yankees. And then after that, it's been injury hell. So this is somebody whose player profile included missing time. Last offseason, Brian Cashman did not relay that information well. He said, oh yeah, this seems to be part of his game. It's like, Brian, it was quote part of his game 10 years ago. You decided to acquire him. You were hopeful for a set of results you were never going to get, and then you decided to cut yourself off at the knees and not make any other impact acquisitions on the offensive side, cutting payroll during Aaron Judge's cheapest years in arbitration. So it's just ridiculous. So anybody at this point who's getting mad at Giancarlo Stanton is like, you're mad at the system. So direct the anger properly. And for Stanton, like, what are you going to do? The guy just came off a blackout postseason run that, again, should have probably resulted in a World Series if the Yankees had 3 total competent offensive players in the postseason and they had 1. So I don't think Giancarlo Stanton was slated to miss 2 months of any point of the season, right? When was it going to come? That was going to be the discussion. Is it going to be the beginning of the year?
I don't like watching him play in April. Like,
no,
watching Stanton in cold weather games is deeply uncomfortable. Somebody who pulls soft tissue muscles during the summer, like, I don't know, just watching him all, like, I don't know, it's
you're just sitting, you're waiting for something to happen. You're sitting there, you're waiting for something to happen, and it's not the right feeling to have because you don't want to think that. You're just sitting there, oh great, he's going to pull up lame on a double, and there goes the hamstring. So yeah, the feeling is not, you're not comfortable when they're playing home games and it's 40 degrees. You're not comfortable when they're going to Detroit and it's raining and it's 39 degrees. So is this the best thing? I guess if we want to be glass half full folks, but then again, you go immediately to glass half empty because who is filling in for him?
Yeah.
Ben Rice looks good in spring in terms of connecting on a few balls. I understand he's not facing premier pitching, but you like to see a couple of those powerful swings. He's been working on some stuff too, so that's good to see. Cody Bellinger hit his first Yankees home run on Saturday. In terms of the other offensive players, like we talked last week, Dom Smith heated up a little bit. Everson Pereira's doing something, which is nice to see. I mean,
He's
it's
alive.
better than, yeah. I mean, that's what we need out of these guys. We need these guys to just maybe be somebody, and then we can bridge the gap. Maybe there is that flexibility at the beginning of the season where you're shuffling guys in and out of the lineup via the DH spot, utilizing that flexibility as best you can. Could be a blessing in disguise. I'll go as far to say that that's a possibility. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. The Yankees don't seem to capitalize on these situations when they have the opportunity to do so. But, there are many concerns with what's going on, but the hope is that Giancarlo Stanton is, look, don't forget the personal issue. We still don't know what's going on.
And we're not going to learn, I would say, anything about this for quite a while.
Yeah. And we it's none of our business. Point blank. Doesn't matter if we know or not. Just hope the guy's okay. I know he's been through a lot. Since he joined the Yankees, there's been a lot of criticism. I've been one of those guys, very unhappy with Giancarlo Stanton's early Yankees tenure when he was missing games that were really important, and it was frustrating. And then again, my blame was perhaps directed incorrectly, but then again, I think a lot of the frustration also stems from when you get below average Giancarlo Stanton, right? When that is either a symptom of the injuries or a symptom of the inconsistent play as a result of the injuries or whatever it is. But we can't have 2020 second half 2022 Giancarlo Stanton or 2023 Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, he missed time with injuries, but 211 batting average in 2022 with a 759 OPS, absolutely not. 191 batting average with a 695 OPS in 2023. Absolutely not. That's where it becomes a problem. If Giancarlo Stanton's doing what he did last year, 233 average, 773 OPS, 115 OPS plus, yeah, that's fine. But he can't be having those hellacious runs of striking out and not putting any bat on ball and putting uncompetitive at bats forth when he's supposed to be protecting people in the lineup. So whenever he's ready and healthy to go, they got to be careful with how they bring him on and how they welcome him back in, because we know how rough the first couple weeks are when he returns from injury. But doesn't matter if this, in my opinion, it actually does matter. The only way that him missing time could not have happened is if it was going to be August, September, because that would have been a nightmare for down the stretch and then heading into the postseason. So start the season on the IL, rest up, see what this flexibility can get you. And we'll be positive guys until then, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what I can't believe is that ultimately that what we saw in 2023 turned into what we saw in 2024. And people were writing him off and claiming the career was over. And I understood it because once you're tripping into the 190s, you're in Rob Deere territory. That's not a Hall of Fame player anymore. That's not a game changer. That's someone you hope runs into one. And he was unbelievable last year when he had to be, and apparently was dealing with this throughout the whole process. So nothing but love to Giancarlo Stanton, who I want to see get to 500 homers, and I want to see enter the Hall of Fame, however much time he needs for that to happen. But it's gonna be a while. We're not gonna have him at the start of the year, and I don't know who was available, because if Stanton is going down, you do need to prize flexibility in the DH spot. Whoever you bring in can't be a perma DH. I'm not interested in JD Martinez right now. It's certainly not right now. And at any point in the offseason, I wasn't interested in sinking money into just somebody who can fill in for Stanton but can't go anywhere else. So Jockey Peterson, yeah, I'm into that as long as you can accept that glove in the outfield. He's taking reps at first base. Jake Berger is someone I've long been interested in, and the Rangers got him basically for free. And I think you'll see that come back to haunt plenty of teams in Major League Baseball over the course of this season. Just plug in 25 homers. You don't even need to worry about it. So, hey, we'll see. It's going to be a while for Stanton. And I like Ben Rice. I do. I wish he wasn't the default. I wish that you could say, wow, Ben Rice is crushing the ball, and he put on 10 extra pounds of muscle and 113 mile an hour exit velocity. And I'm so glad he's in open competition with X guy we brought in. Or wow, what a perfect addition to the bench. But instead, you're sort of saying, wow, I hope he just immediately is almost as impactful as a Giancarlo Stanton type in a DH role. And that's what stinks, because I've been really excited by the progress and I believe in him. But now I have to both believe in him and say, well, he's immediately going to replicate 85% of what Stanton does, or be even better from the left side. And that's really hard to justify. Yeah. I mean, look, kick my ass, and people probably will. After all the yelling we've been doing about, hey, this bench, like they never build a bench with intentionality. This sucks. I kind of like it. This is so stupid. Getting DJ LeMahieu out of the mix has made me like the bench. JC Escara as backup catcher, I like. Peraza, Dom Smith, and Trent Grisham is the current athletic projection from Chris Kirshner and Brendan Cuddy. And I'm looking at that going, yeah, I mean, that'll play. It literally just removing DJ LeMahieu from the depth chart makes it feel less like the losers of the open competition trickling down and guys who are just there because they have to be. But
yeah,
DJ LeMahieu, nobody wants him to be cooked. Everybody, we will take the L on saying that the Yankees had to re-sign him after 2020. But in fairness, if you watch the 2019 and 2020 Yankees, how could you not want to bring him back? And there was no world that I foresaw where he wasn't a viable 100-game starter fill-in at this point in his career, at this point in the downturn. Some guy who could just come off the bench like late career Tim Raines on the 90s Yankees and hit 280 with 10 homers, and you would be totally satisfied by his 106 OPS plus. He would be making less than Nolan Arenado and producing like Nolan Arenado at this point. Unfortunately, not available in the postseason in 21, 22. Team didn't make it in 23, not available in 24. Just wrecked so much sooner than he should have been. Solid when available 2 years ago, but not since then. And 2 at-bats, one of which we were already saying, okay, so this is an open competition, but where is he? Like, if it's an open competition, where are the reps? He's not getting them. I'm not seeing him. So how open is the competition really if he's not playing games? They get him up to game speed over the weekend. First at bat, he takes a swing that looks like a kid trying to adjust to a high velocity batting cage. Like that thing when you start your swing when the ball is in the pitcher's hand, just to make some contact with 90 and tell all your friends you figure out how to do it. He was like a second and a half late on a high fastball, slow start to the swing, couldn't decide, and just went all the way around. And I was like, wow, that was such a bad swing. It kind of looked like he hurt himself. And then apparently he did hurt himself in the second at bat, not even the first one. Tweaked something to his calf in game 1, made 2 appearances at the plate, and now not a major injury, but going to be out a while. However long it takes him out, you got to tack a spring training onto that. So not going to be ready till May, I would say. Not devastating for the projected ideal lineup, but just a ridiculous farce that like underscores the fact that counting on this man, refusing to pay this man to play elsewhere, and just saying we got to pay him, so he's got to be here. And now that he's hurt, you know that Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner are like, oh, phew, we can buy ourselves some more time on the injured list, which is not how you should feel about anyone who you're paying to play on your roster. If you'd rather they be injured than active, then that's not somebody you should still employ. And that's presumably how they feel today about clearing a path for Oswaldo Cabrera or a platoon with Oswald Peraza. Now we don't have to worry about hurting LeMahieu's pride. He tweaked his calf in AB number 2 of the preseason. Oh, good. Problem solved. I mean, not really. He's probably still depressed about that, right? Doesn't really solve the mood issue. It's shitty. It almost feels when Nolan Arenado came and met up with him and Goldschmidt the other week, I joked online about this almost feels like a plot they concocted to save face so that the Yankees can now trade for Arenado to steal his reps without it feeling like someone encroaching on his territory. Not true. Definitely not what happened. Almost definitely not what happened. But at the same time, I mean, farce doesn't even begin to describe it. This is ridiculous. And now we're not going to have to think about this for a while, but the fact that he's going to be, every time I see his name on the IL, I'm going to be reminded that the Yankees would rather he be there than active.
Yeah. I mean, this all goes back to when in the offseason, the Yankees were trying to hype up his 2025 and Aaron Boone was like, yeah, confident if we can get a healthy DJ. And it's like, are you missing the point, man? The problem has been he's not healthy. So why are we hoping for a healthy season after 4 unhealthy ones? And why do we think that if he's healthy going into his age 36 season, the oldest he has ever been to date, because that's how time works, why is this going to be the time when he's going to perform back to his abilities 6 years ago? It's just crazy to kind of assume that. And this is, again, a Yankees contract problem. They wanted to stretch out the years on the contract to alleviate the competitive balance tax payroll hit. This could have been a 4-year deal for $80 million, and they made it 6 years for $90 million, and they have prolonged this relationship far longer than it needed to be. They are, once again, with all of these other relationships that go bad with the Yankees, even, ones that are as short as Joey Gallo and Josh Donaldson, and others that are as long as Aaron Hicks or DJ LeMahieu, it's everything goes on for far more lengthier than anybody would expect. Like, you even look back at Joey Gallo and that offseason, I remember talking about, like, they have to trade him, right? Like, they cannot wait to get rid of, like, there is no, whatever this guy just did, like, there is no recovering at the start of whatever the next season was, 2022. It's like, he's got to go. And then they kept him until the trade deadline, and it was the worst, more of the worst you've ever seen. Aaron Hicks.
It was the funniest thing with Gallo, because they kept him and they played him, and everybody would call into sports radio every night and be like, I cannot watch another second of this man. And the radio host would be like, they're 31-10.
Yeah.
They have the best record in the world. And both of those things were true. And it was just crazy that you were watching one of the 9 starters hit 160 with no pop. And they were still doing that. And luckily they got Clayton Beater.
Yeah, they got something out of it, which was admirable. And you have Aaron Hicks, who, you look at the end of the 2022 season when he had those misses in left field again. It was like Derek Jeter night against the Rays, and he had
somebody unplugged him running into the corner, chasing a double.
And then he comes back the next season, and the first 3 days of the season, he talks about how it's nonsense, how he doesn't know, like, he doesn't have a role and he doesn't know what he's doing here. And then the Yankees keep him for like another 6 weeks. He actually starts to play well. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's finally hitting the ball again. And then they DFA him. And then with Josh Donaldson, when it was like, he came over, he was terrible, and then he kept getting injured. And it's like, all right, just get rid of this guy. Like, we never wanted him here. We don't know why he's here. And now he's just albatross on the payroll, and he's not a cultural fit, and he's terrible. So
albatross of all albatrosses.
Yeah. So, and now you have LeMahieu, who honestly should not be lumped into this discussion, because he had a far better Yankees career than any of those aforementioned names. And the Yankees are making it's turning into a worse and worse development every single day. And it's upsetting. Like, I don't want to be talking about DJ LeMahieu having to go, but the conversation should have ended after the 2023 season. Like, he didn't look like himself, even when he had that healthy stretch of play. And there was no reason to create a lane for him. Like, again, the Yankees have the luxury to leave him on the bench and utilize him as they see fit. And they don't want to do that, because whether it's a pride thing, whether it was the veteran players refusing the DFA at the end of last year, which was a rumor this offseason, whether it was the Yankees just refusing to part with the player who was that endeared by the fan base and who's, I don't know if he's at 10-5 rights, who knows what else is approaching in terms of his career milestones. Like, I understand that all comes into play, but you can't, it's bad business to say DJ LeMahieu's in the running for the starting third base job after what happened last year. I mean, he couldn't even, it had to have been the weakest contact in all of Major League Baseball last year. I don't even know what the numbers were, but if you watched anything that he had done, he was completely lost at the plate. He had no mobility. He had no range in the field. And it was just like, this is sad. And it's probably the end of his career, because you can't miss that much time over the course of 4 years. But, like, just got to call it like it is and not further hamper your World Series window because of some guy you decided to pay 5 years ago. And now we're just looking at another relationship die on the vine instead of us ripping the Band-Aid off and acting swiftly. And I am not glad that he got injured, but it is at least nice to not have to go through this exercise in terms of wondering if he's going to be the starting third baseman. I'd obviously rather him in the mix trying to figure it out. But again, it's the Yankees' fault. Like, he comes to camp, and the first thing is these depressing comments about how he loses sleep with how poorly he's played and how unavailable he's been. And then they asked him what his offseason plan was, and his answer was nothing. It was the longest layoff he's ever had in his career because he wanted a reset with his body, which again, something I can understand. But after essentially missing all of that time for the past 4 years and having that inconsistent playing time and being unable to find a rhythm, I don't know why this is the off season. You decide to have this massive reset and then not appear in spring games until late when you need the reps early, especially when you're in a competition and you need to simply get back on track because of the lack of consistent time. And then you are wondering where, because the Yankees didn't say anything. The Yankees weren't like, we're holding DJ LeMahieu out until March 1st, like they did with Austin Wells and Aaron Judge. And like, yeah, everybody bitched about that for a second where it's like, wait, why are we doing that? And that because Aaron Boone was like, well, they had long seasons last year. And it was like, yeah, I mean, everybody did. Why are these two the exception? Again, understandable. It's just would like more context because the surface level comments don't make sense, but they didn't say anything about LeMahieu. And you're like, where is this guy? There are reps at third base to be had. Oswald Peraza, Oswald Cabrera are playing there. They're looking pretty good. It seems like they're jumping up in the race. Where's DJ LeMahieu? Then he appears and he's gone before he even starts. Mm-hmm. And it's more of the same. So it's certainly frustrating. I feel for the guy because I can certainly imagine what it's like. But again, it's another Yankees manufactured problem that they have refused to deal with.
Yeah, I'm upset on his behalf, of course. Like, you don't want to see anybody go down this way. But, I mean, he didn't play enough to qualify for any of the metrics, to be able to factor in any. We don't have enough sample size to say he ranked in X percentile. But the rolling expected weighted on base average, LeMahieu last year, like, something happened mid-season, too. So he started weak and then got increasingly weaker. He was in the, red. He was sort of trending positively for a while and ended in the absolute doldrums in the mid 249 on his last plate appearance on August 27th for expected weighted on base. I mean, that is pathetic. That is the dumps of all dumps. And most notably, he recorded some of the slowest bat speed in all of Major League Baseball last year. They finally added that metric, and he was at 67.3, down in like the 10th percentile in the sample size that he did show. So power gone, operating slower than ever. Laconically, you could see it when he was at the plate, struggled to catch up to high velocity and could make only soft contact with it. Unlike that is not the player who we fell in love with. That is not the guy. No. And even in 2023, when he was barely healthy and he kept battling the foot injury, he still got the OPS over 700. 734 in 2022, 717 in 2023. That's not good, but that's a serviceable aging player. And then when he got hurt, he was completely different, couldn't recover. And last year was, unwatchable, unplayable in all aspects. Strange mental errors. He lost a ground ball in the lights that led to them losing that game in Texas. A ground ball in the lights. Ultimately, that might have been the best loss of the year. The Wyatt Langford walk-off grand slam, because it lost Clay Holmes' closer job. Shout out to Clay Holmes, 6 shutout innings at Mets camp. God damn it. I mean, what are we even doing? But ultimately, good work, by a lot of Yankees, and tough that we have to measure LeMahieu this way and say, I'm glad he's not on the field making a negative impact so that we can just move on. But that is where we have to be at this point. Noteworthy as well, I know everyone's going to probably ask about Alex Verdugo's Instagram post from Friday night. We wrote about, hey, the Jason Dominguez bad left field defense. Maybe now that the DH roles open up, we can move him over there and he can split reps with Ben Rice, maybe take some time in center instead of just being wedded to left, or maybe he plays left field twice a week as he gets comfortable and DH 4 times. I don't know. I'm not a manager. I don't do this for a living, but that everything at camp is lining up as Alex Verdugo would have preferred that it would. Still unemployed, not sure what his market is, what teams are involved, what that price point. I mean, we know the Yankees are broke, but how could you be can't sign guy who can't get job in March broke? Those guys have to be looking for $8 at this point. Alex Verdugo still out there and hyping himself up with an Instagram reel of Yankees highlights, of Yankees defense mostly, that he posted on Friday. Jose Iglesias also still available. A Yankee fan, very active on Twitter, posted, how would you feel if the Yankees signed Jose Iglesias, brought him in to play third? And then Brodman, he be on the bench as well if somebody else won the third base job. I mean, overjoyed, over the moon, ecstatic. What are we doing here? That would be a perfect addition. But Verdugo specifically couldn't have written him off harder when the season ended for obvious reasons. The offense was never there except for in very limited samples in early April and then also in the postseason from time to time. It wasn't bad. Not
Random clutch hits, which
not
is
our
fine.
worst player in October. So probably not going to be a Yankee. Probably still looking for more money than we're willing to pay. We'd rather keep the spots open. We'd rather experiment with Dominguez, who has been a little bit better lately. But
couple of catches.
He did post. We saw the post. And I guess that's all he wanted was for us to see the post. But we did. We saw it.
We saw it. Nice catch in center field. I mean, he was overall a solid defender. It was helpful. And then you had a couple of glaring moments like that day in Baltimore. And then the awful offense. And you're just wondering how, again, somebody comes here and has a career worst season.
Rollovers.
The rollovers are just nuts. And then you have Dominguez, who actually made a couple of catches over this weekend, and people were excited about it. I haven't actually been tracking him. I want him to be left alone to just figure it out. It's important to note at the top of spring training when somebody arrives and they're doing the exact thing that you worried about last year for coverage purposes, whether positive or negative. You guys got to know. You have to know if an important player is making errors.
I need him to be good, though, because the Red Sox fans who can't keep their eyes on their own paper, like, I know that their entire life is based on trolling, and I know that they have no satisfaction in their personal lives. And I hate to be the person who's like, get friends. But, like, truly, some of these people can't possibly have friends. And if they do, the foundation of all their friendships is just saying, did you see what Jason Dominguez did the other day? So there's nothing there, just the most surface level friendships of all time. But, Red Sox fans tweeting every day, year 17 for Jason Dominguez, finally trying to make an impact at age 48. He hit 5 home runs in like a week when he got called up in September 2022. He had 2023, had position player Tommy John surgery, which is rare for everyone except for the Yankees. Apparently that happens to them all the time. Couldn't find his footing last year. Sorry that you guys are all reveling in a young baseball player's injury. Sorry that that's very funny to you, but he's back. I like that I like the bat. Don't love the glove. Want to love the glove, but at least want the bat to make up for it. I think he's going to be really good this year, and I need him to be good because I need these people who, like, don't you guys have Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer? Like, don't you have a lot of stuff to watch on your own fucking team? So
the greatest position player trio of a generation, Jeff.
Baseball history, a combined 0 major league at bats, but they're already generational. Don't you have stuff to watch on your own end? I don't really need that. I don't need the tweets. They're not funny, not interesting. You're not interesting. I think that's really what I wanted to say here.
You're right. You're right about that. But then again, you look at 3 guys in Yankee spring training who have had the most at bats out of everybody. It's Jason Dominguez, it's Anthony Volpe, and it's Oswaldo Cabrera, and they're all doing terrible. Yeah. So this is where it's tough to defend because Dominguez, who needs to prove himself, 6 games, 16 at bats, he's batting 125 with a 301 OPS. Anthony Volpe to follow up another, weak offensive season. He's batting 77 with a 385 OPS. Oswaldo Cabrera, who's fighting for the third base job, is batting 154 with a 652 OPS. Once again, spring training largely does not matter. This is not indicative of what's going to happen when regular season games start. But all 3 of these guys are either competing for something or they are looking to turn the page on what was an otherwise disappointing season or disappointing follow-up season. Volpe had what I think many would have deemed a successful rookie year. 2020 flashed a good glove. There were offensive problems because he's a young hitter and it's not easy to play Major League Baseball. But last year was literally more of the same, and many would argue a regression on the offensive end if you looked at some of the metrics. And now you head into spring training and you have 1 hit and 13 at bats. I don't know. And I hope none of it matters. I really do. But you are looking at guys who are in need of having to use the spring training reps for some sort of narrative or to push forth some storyline or to have everybody forget about a recent past. Like Anthony Volpe had the World Series home run. That was great. That was awesome. But the Yankees need a cornerstone shortstop to not have a 660 OPS. It's kind of the way it has to be. So I'm hoping for all three of these guys to figure it out and succeed. I love Oswaldo. Now the path is kind of cleared for him at third base, depending on what Peraza and him do for the remainder of spring. Volpe, we know, has clear path to play 162 games because the Yankees won't change anything on that front. And Aaron Boone said at the beginning of spring training that Jason Dominguez has to earn the left field job, and the early errors. And now you look at 16 plate appearances and essentially very little success. If this continues on this trajectory, it might not look pretty for the 2 out of these 3 guys.
Yeah, spring training doesn't matter at all, but also it would be nice if people just kicked ass. So we don't
or just did average, just like, bat 250. Bat 250, OPS 700, and then we're not talking about you.
Like, I see people kicking ass everywhere else. I see Alex Bregman kicking ass. You guys seeing that?
I didn't see it.
Sure am.
Yeah.
5 for 12 with a bomb. OPS down to 1150. What a loser. But yeah, I mean, you can't. You got to have one guy dominating. It'd be great to have somebody dominating. At the same time, though, games don't count, so don't waste it. Don't be bomb squad and then show up on opening day and have nothing for me. That's why by the time, last week, I was overjoyed to see Yankee spring training games on that Friday. Now, Monday, March 3rd, don't care for them anymore. I'm good.
Yeah, we got our fill. The spring arrived and it was fun, and now it's praying for people to not get injured and praying for prolonged slumps to not continue. So I'm more interested in the pitching at this point. I want to see what the pitching can do. I know we didn't have the greatest Marcus Stroman situation yesterday, but what are you going to do? The guy's working through some trade rumors. Look, spring training does not matter for Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is an MLB veteran with career pedigree that honestly not too many pitchers have. Not a lot of pitchers have Marcus Stroman's body of work. Obviously some do, some are even better, but for the most part, like, you look at what Marcus Stroman has done, and there aren't, like, you can't just pluck a bunch of guys out of a row and say, oh yeah, those guys achieve what Marcus Stroman has. Battling trade rumors this offseason, battling kind of breaking down in the second half. If the Yankees can, now with Luis Gil's injury and the emergence of Will Warren, if they can figure out how to do a quasi six-man rotation where they are making sure their top 4 starters are getting starts every 5th day, and then they can mix in Warren and Stroman for every 6th day, I think you will get the workload you need to out of them, and you'll get the efficiency you need from them as well. So, Stroman, in my opinion, is good for 20 solid starts a year. Once you start getting into the high 20s and low 30s, that's when stuff starts to start and fly off the tracks, which is what happened last season. Will Warren, another guy, came on last year, didn't really know what we had in him. Was he going to be a spot starter? Was he going to be a multi-inning reliever? He was kind of caught in that purgatory. I don't know if that was, how his usage was the Yankees' fault with what had happened, or if he just wasn't executing. But he looked sharp this spring. But I think at the same time, you could say he's not a 25-start guy because he's never really been able to handle that workload. So let's figure something out with giving some guys rest, managing these workloads properly. And you see home runs given up yesterday by Marcus Stroman against the Braves, but it was a solid lineup. He's still working through stuff. He got his last start skipped for a live BP. He's now essentially back in the rotation with Luis Gil down. And you would think he has the edge over Will Warren just because, Will Warren still has to prove a lot. He has to sustain this over spring training. He has to really wow to have the Yankees kick Marcus Stroman out of the rotation, in my opinion. So I think that it's too creative an idea for the Yankees, and it's definitely too much for, I think, the coaching staff to go forth with. But if they could figure out some sort of 6-man rotation, they did it that one year. I forgot what year it was, but they made sure Cole and somebody else got starts every fifth day, and then they would skip random guys in the rotation and give extra rest or work in the six man. So I don't know if they could figure that out, but I feel like that would be a genius plan.
How about this? Davy Garcia throws 1 inning, then Marcus Stroman throws 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a plan I just came up with. It should be
in
good.
The playoffs.
Never until game 2 of a playoff series. Don't try that until the most important game of the year. I think the most disingenuous shit that's probably going on somewhere today, and I hope that you didn't listen to that right before you came here, is like, the Yankees have a Marcus Stroman problem. They needed to pay for him to go away, and now that he's in the rotation, giving up a home run to Austin Riley and a home run to Matt Olson, you're seeing why Brian Brainless Cashman should have paid for him to get out of here. No, actually, and hand up, I'll admit, whenever I veer too far into a negative take like that, we were saying that, hey, if Marcus Stroman's going to be this insubordinate when he reports to spring training and he's going to say, I am a starter, then you're going to have to find a way to end this relationship. You're going to have to bring in some insurance. And lo and behold, the biggest counter to that is, why would you pay 80% to get rid of an asset and an experienced starting pitcher when you know that someone's going to go down? And Clark Schmidt has back issues. He's throwing again, but it's an issue recorded in the first 2 weeks of camp. And Luis Gil now has a shoulder MRI, and Luis Gil going down at any point this spring or this season, beyond predictable. He went down several times last year. He was the rookie of the year, but was pretty much unusable by the time the playoffs rolled around. He was making 2-inning starts in the CS and World Series. He was just almost a piece. He was your game 4 starter. He's the reason you went out and got Max Fried this year. So you can now go, ideally when healthy, Cole, Fried, Rodon, Schmidt. You've got 4, if you can keep them healthy, that you can believe in. And beyond that, Gil's a fantastic wild card. Stroman is an experienced, durable. It's funny because he's durable. Yeah, this is going to get clipped, but durable till he's not, right? He wears down over the course of a long season, but at the start of a year when he's firing on all cylinders, he'll give you 6-7 innings every time out there pretty efficiently. And then Will Warren, what we've seen already from him indicates that there might be a breakout ahead. So that's enough pitching that you could have afforded to get rid of Marcus Stroman if he was really disruptive, or if you found someone to take on 60% of the deal. But to pay 85-90% to get rid of Stroman only for him to factor in just a couple of days later shows why they didn't do that. And all along I said, it's a shame that this is ending this way, because there is value in keeping him, because eventually someone will get hurt. And so Marcus Stroman's 6th starter is not the worst idea. But then again, it doesn't seem like you can keep him happy in the 6th starter role until he's needed. So you might as well get rid of him now. And then lo and behold, he was needed like 2 weeks later or even less. So it didn't matter how long you were able to keep him happy, whether he was frustrated for the last couple of weeks or not.
He won't be down to be a 6th starter. Did he say that?
No, he didn't say that, but it's just like, he's not in the bullpen. Yeah. He would be down to be a 6th starter in a 6-man rotation, I assume. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he was down for the world of like, we'll use you from time to time, but you'll be the long man. Like, it's like, all right, well, no, I'm not a star. I'm not going to be the long man. But now, of course, he's going to be a starter in the opening day rotation, what he wanted all along. It's a bummer that he gave up 2 home runs yesterday, because, again, the same people who can't watch their own paper, got their eyes glued to every Yankees spring training box score, are laughing about how much of a joke Marcus Stroman's out. Just like they laughed about Carlos Rodon. I can't believe that can't believe what they're paying Carlos Rodon, to give up a home run to Johan Rojas in February. You can't believe what they're paying Carlos Rodon to do that. What are you talking about? And so here we are. He's got what he wanted, and they don't have to worry about keeping him happy through this weird interstitial period where he's stuck in the bullpen, because he's going to be in the opening day rotation for all intents and purposes, in all likelihood. I don't know when Luis Gil's coming back. I wish I knew more. The fact that I don't know more indicates it could be a while, but even if it's the lowest tier injury, he's not coming back till May.
Yeah. And how about this for Marcus Stroman too? If let's say Gil is out until May, you get a solid first half out of Marcus Stroman, you rebuild his trade value a little bit, and some team might be willing to take on half of the 2025 salary and the risk of the vesting option, rather than getting the most depreciated part of the asset with him coming off the second half of 2024 and a full salary of $18 million leading into 2025. So again, Yankees play their cards right. All of this can kind of be amended. Stroman at this point, maybe he's just a means to an end for the organization. That the harsh reality of the business, but there's ways around this, and there's ways that they can make it work. And I think Aaron Boone sent the right message by giving him the first start of spring training. I don't know what him going back to the complex throw live BP was about. Did we ever get any other information on that? That was
no.
just,
why would we? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I figured because I remember waiting for it, and then it just never came. And then I'm just like, why would I care about this 2 weeks later? Now it's over. It's over and done with. But yeah, you play your cards right. You manage the workload in the first half of the season, and the world of possibilities. Either you could trade him, either he becomes an integral piece with one of the other injuries happening, or you're managing his workload for the entire long haul where, hey, maybe you don't hit the vesting option for him. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he just gives you 21 really solid starts and is a good number 5 in the rotation. And that's what you're working with. So I'm not really viewing this negatively. It's good to have this rotation depth, even if there is, quote, a problem here. But in my opinion, the problem already happened. They already held on. They already let the trade rumors get so loud and had him arrive at spring training and had the whole ordeal with him not reporting to days he didn't need to report to. Mm-hmm. So, what's the big deal now? What's the big deal now? Now he pitches and plays baseball. And all he can't do is get absolutely shelled to start the regular season. So let's hope that doesn't happen. And then we're kind of in the clear.
Fingers crossed. Speaking of, I don't think he's been at all toxic in the clubhouse. It would seem it was a weird start to the offseason, obviously, and a weird start to camp. But, I don't think he matches Josh Donaldson. And there was an unbelievable quote in the Bob Clappish story today that I just can't end the podcast without reading, talking about LeMahieu and keeping him inactive and why Hal hopes that the player just goes away rather than paying him to play elsewhere. Aaron Hicks was a different story. Sorry, I'll go back. What complicates matters is the organization's fondness for LeMahieu. Everyone loves him from the front office to the clubhouse. Even the clubhouse kids has grown attached to the quiet, unassuming infielder who minds his business. Aaron Hicks was a different story. He hated being a Yankee by the end and had no use for the fans. He didn't even like baseball as much as golf. The other recent flameouts had their issues as well. Josh Donaldson had a toxic personality that was off-putting to anyone who tried to make conversation. Now, why didn't we hear that during his time here? We were told, correct me if I'm wrong, that he's been toxic everywhere else, but the Yankees have given him a second chance. And for all intents and purposes, the reports from the clubhouse have actually been glowing. He hasn't been that guy at all. And now that we're a year and a half removed, we can get Bob Clappish saying he can't even talk to this guy. It was unpleasant.
Well, we knew that was the case.
It was unpleasant to try to talk to him one-on-one, let alone in a group setting. Ever try to have a Friendsgiving with Josh Donaldson? Jeez, come on. Now here it comes.
Oh, this guy brought vegetables to the Friendsgiving?
Yeah. Some guys are just toxic in a group hang.
Okay,
great.
Josh Donaldson's the guy who has he's immediately shit-faced off 3 beers and he starts starting arguments.
Josh Donaldson's who's that? And every guy in the hang knows that's one of their girlfriends. Whoa, woof. They're is that a good woof or a bad woof? You can't tell. It's just toxic conversation.
What's your name again, dude? You've met me 5 times,
including we've been yesterday. Here for a week. This is a bachelor party. We got acquainted days ago.
I like the Josh Donaldson acquisition will forever blow my mind because that previous season he badmouthed Garrett Cole to the media about sticky stuff, and he had been a career agitator. And you look at the Yankees, their reputation, and kind of how they view themselves, and we are guilty of this. We've talked about getting some sort of an agitator on this team, right? Somebody who can kind of just whip people into shape. Talk the right amount of shit, give the right amount of candor and honesty to the media when there's stuff bubbling underneath the surface that is happening, but you're getting the Yankees responses. You're not getting the actual real life interpersonal relationship responses. But Josh Donaldson was the extreme version of that. So when he had his incident with Tim Anderson, which kind of derailed everything, Yeah, I mean, when his weird injuries would happen, he cut his hand building a dollhouse with his daughter. It's just like, what is going on here? Why did we think this was the guy who famously has been, not well regarded throughout his MLB career in terms of a personality, in terms of a clubhouse influence? Why would you think that would be somebody to put in the mix with people like Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, who are larger than life personalities in many ways, but they're all kind of reserved in some way, right? And like Josh Donaldson never seemed like the guy who'd be like, you know what, we're going to break Judge, not like a Swisher vibe, where it's like, I'm going to break Judgey out of his shell. I'm going to take him bowling and I'm going to throw some waffle fries at him while he's trying to go down the lane. And it's like, Josh Donaldson's not that guy. He's not going to spur interpersonal relationships. He's not gonna bring the group together. He's clearly gonna be out for himself, and that was evidently what had happened. So it's the judge of the human element on the game with the Yankees, I feel, and they haven't fully gotten it right since, I guess, 2009.
Yeah, find that group. Maybe.
I mean, I did like the 2017 group was great. You brought in Todd Frazier, great personality, great glue guy. Tommy Kahnle, we love him. Like they brought in McCutchen the year after, another great dude. So like they had it for a second there, and it's like those years they were missing the pieces with 2017 they were missing the high dollar superstars to help bring the team forward, and they got lucky with Aaron Judge's rookie season being MVP candidate caliber. And then the next couple of years, they're cutting payroll, and they're adding some of these glue guys into the mix, but it's just not enough to get past Red Sox or Astros, who have built those super teams. And then these last few years, it's like some wrong free agency moves, some wrong trade acquisitions, but like no consistent direction outside of like, we have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Garrett Cole, and we're going to be a contender, and then we'll just figure it out from there. So long story short, I guess the point I'm trying to make is they are not primed to deal with properly the Marcus Stroman problem, which is why this is as big of a talking point as it is.
Yeah, and now they got to hope that there is no Marcus Stroman problem. I certainly hope that as well. And yeah, that 2019 team, that was my team. That was my chemistry team. Imagine how much better they would have been with Bryce Harper and with no Domingo Germán, with a better depth starter, so they weren't blindsided by an end of season suspension given to a moron. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you streaming with us again every Monday, every Thursday, 2:00 Eastern, and on all podcast platforms. Hit us with those 5 stars, rate, review. We love to see everybody check in. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you for joining us on the audio feed. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes, everybody. Please hit me up there. We are also at the official Yanks Go Yard account. It is at Yanks Go Yard FS. Where else are we? We are on our official YouTube channel that we would love if you liked and subscribed to. That'll give you alerts for when we're going live, which is usually every Monday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, but things change. You never know. Please head on over to yanksgoyard.com. A lot of spring training coverage, a lot of prospect coverage, a lot of rumors, all that speculation and buzz. We're covering it. We're staying on top of all of it for you. Opening day is this month. It's March. This is our first podcast of March. I think we need to acknowledge that. March 1st was Saturday. Today is March 3rd. This is how calendars work. We are here. We're not stopping. Opening day in about 3-ish weeks. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. Got to track these spring training performances. Sorry, it's part of our job.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we hope you're here for along the way. So appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.
Yeah, March Madness, March real baseball, March roster crunches, March position battles. We're here for all of it. We appreciate everybody joining us. We'll see you on Thursday.